Welcome to the XY Advisor Podcast, a global community of financial advisors sharing and learning with one another to drive the positive evolution of financial advice. To get involved, go to xyadvisor.com or simply download the XY Advisor app. This series, Deeper Client Relationships at Scale, is brought to you by myprosperity, the all-in-one client portal and app designed to enhance your practice efficiencies, promote your digital brand, and grow your revenue. You can book a demo directly from the website. Go to myprosperity.com.au. Welcome back to the XY Advisor Podcast. I'm Fraser Jack, and I'm joined by Karolina from myprosperity. Welcome.
Thanks, Fraser, and feel free to call me KK, as the whole industry knows me as. So thanks for having me here.
No problem at all, KK. Now, today we're talking about all things around deeper client relationships at scale, and obviously it's a pretty interesting topic, and we go through, the client relationships that people have. But before we go there, let's talk about you. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been in the tech industry for around 14 years. Prior to working at myprosperity, I worked at MYOB, which I think a lot of people have heard of that brand. And my role was a partner manager in the field. So I looked after around 100 accounting firms, and the whole purpose was to help them move from desktop accounting software to the cloud. And obviously we had a competitor called Xero on our heels. So there was a lot of work to be done, but I loved being part of that transition process and seeing a lot of firms change and flourish. So that paved my way into the fintech world. And when I met Peter McCarthy, I just thought, wow, I love this vision about having a personal app on your phone and advisors being able to have data at their fingertips. This is amazing. So when I met Peter, and anyone that has met Peter McCarthy, he's just one of those people that make you feel really welcomed, and he's just got a very bubbly personality, and we hit it off. And I thought, yep, I'm all in. And 5 years later, I'm still here, and I'm loving it.
Goodness me, 5 years. Interesting, isn't it? I mean, the technology that's come in the last sort of 10 years or so has been absolutely incredible. As you mentioned, when you were in MyOB, moving everybody off into the cloud, and then obviously, from there on, it's been this amazing growth in what technology can do for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, tell us. So you've been there for 5 years. Goodness me, that's a great stint. Tell us about how the evolution of those last 5 years have been.
Yeah, so when I joined, I was employee number 8. Since then, we've tripled in size. We've grown quite incredibly in the market. I think back then we only had about 50 odd clients. Now we've got well over 500. We did a soft launched globally as well. So it's been incredible. It's been great. The quality of people that we've hired at myprosperity have really been not only very intelligent and great at what they do, but we're very much a family. So, we're not a giant company like Xero yet, but we've still got that family feel, and I love our vision, because at the end of the day, it's very similar to what financial advisors do. We just want to help, Australians get their financial, personal finances sorted, and that's what financial advisors want. So the synergy's there.
Yeah, this is really interesting, having been in technology myself for a long time, to see the evolution of how technology startups become sort of more mature companies. And, I always sort of think that the startups can do such amazing things. They're nimble, and then they sort of have that maturity level, and people sort of don't always jump on the startup train, do they? They sort of wait till companies been around, and you sort of think about technology companies being an overnight success in 10 years from when they start up.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, and this year will be our 10th year, and we've invested a lot of money and hard work, and I think advisors don't realise sometimes how much work goes into technology and all the integrations and the pressure that we get. So we are always working very hard in the background and taking on a lot of feedback to provide a good solution.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I first started as an advisor thinking about technology, it was all very simple. It was going to be very easy just to do a quick, make technology. It sounds very simple, but certainly after working in technology for some time, it's a bit more complicated than that. Now, tell us about. So you're there. What's your role there now?
Yeah, so I've grown. So when I first joined myprosperity, I was the territory manager for VicTas, and then that grew into the national business development role. And in the last 6 months, I've had a promotion to be the head of wealth channel. So because we're growing quite rapidly, we've decided to, have 2 unique channels for the company. So we've got an accounting channel and we've got a financial planning channel. And I remember Peter asking me which channel I'd like to sort of drive. And I sort of thought, you know what, I've done the accounting in the past. I've made some really great relationships on the advice or in the advice industry. And so it was a no-brainer for me. I just said, yep, I want to keep going with the advice side. And I've got a lot of great advisors in my network and I want to keep driving it. So that's my role there, head of growth for the financial planning side.
Fantastic. And you've come to the right place then in that case. So certainly with relationships, it's an interesting one, isn't it? They're very different, the relationships that accountants have with than financial planners.
Yeah, look, in a way, I guess when you look at an accounting firm, a lot of the work that they do is very ATO driven. You need to get your BASs done. You need to get your tax returns done. I think in terms of advice, and when you look at even a lot of the firms that we have on board at myprosperity, a lot of their clients are actually pre-retirees because they're the ones that can actually afford ongoing advice. So I think there is a lot of room for, I guess, making advice a little bit more, affordable for mainstream Australians and getting them to understand the value of advice and those foundations. And one thing I really loved about what Conrad said in obviously with the client interviews that were recorded previously, he mentioned about the foundations of a house. If your foundations aren't right, then you're going to have issues with the house. And I loved that because that's the same with getting your financial advice sorted at a younger age to make sure that you can live a comfortable life and retire early and achieve those goals. So you don't know what you don't know. So I think there's a lot of ways that we can, market the importance of advice into our industry. We've just got to figure out ways to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as you mentioned, we've sort of made some recordings previously. This is as part of a series. We've got some fantastic advisors and advice coaches that have just been on previously in the first 4 episodes of this series. And obviously, you mentioned Conrad. Conrad was fantastic. He's got a fantastic business over in WA called Inspired Money, and he's just what resonated when I spoke to him was the fact that he has transitioned his basketball coaching background into the same sort of motivational coaching for his clients and accountability, I guess you could like for his clients, and he's sort of just used what he knew in that coaching space to really help his clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you don't know this about me, Fraser, but I was an avid soccer player back in my day. In fact, I got into the Victorian state team, but then my parents sort of said, no, we didn't move to Australia for you to become a soccer player. So that dream got shattered pretty quickly. But absolutely. You've got a goal, right? You're working with a team. You've got a goal that you want to achieve. And I love that analogy that at the end of the day, sport is quite similar to that coaching, money coaching as well.
Yeah. Now I want to bring this sort of conversation in as well, because we recently had sort of Glenn from Fox and Hare on the podcast, and we really broke into the concept of membership having clients siloed by themselves and then having memberships of clients or larger scale groups of people and somewhere in between. And when it comes to that scale conversation, sometimes that that membership or having groups of people is a way. And I certainly know that this is sort of something that maybe Andy's looking at when he broadcasts some of his stuff out there. Actually having groups and communities of clients or prospects coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the end of the day, you've got to have a few different streams of how you target different client personas, so to speak. So obviously, there'll be different types of communities out there that will have their set achievements or goals that they're trying to achieve. And it's up to the advisor to be able to understand that niche and be able to deliver some sort of solution.
Yep, fantastic. Now, of course, when we think about the series that we just recorded and with all the speakers, there's a few common themes that sort of popped up with all of those when it comes to thinking about how do we create deeper relationships at scale? Some of those themes are around, systems and processes, and some are around the ideas around communication. And of course, a lot of it was based on the idea of, to do all those things, we sort of need, a modern business framework using technology in a smart way, having staff, embracing the technology that we're using, all these sorts of things. Let's start with the sort of the systems side of it and process around, setting up systems and knowing what you're going to do. What were your thoughts around sort of what came out of the first few episodes?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that resonates is when Nicole from King Financial Group explained that over the years they've been acquiring a lot of different practices. And I think with the exit of a lot of advisors, acquisition hasn't been higher at the moment. So what she said was that if you don't have a sound process in place for acquiring new clients, then, you're going to very quickly, run out of control. And that's the problem that I sometimes face when speaking to businesses because, advisors are busy, and when they are acquiring more and more clients, if they don't have the right systems and processes in place, they just run themselves to the ground. And it's really important to almost have that helicopter view, step out for a second and say, well, there are some significant changes that we need to implement, because sometimes it does take about, a good 12 months to implement processes and systems properly into a practice. So it's not a quick win, but you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah, it's interesting when in that acquisition process, because I'm imagining that when they acquire businesses, one of the first things that they really need is quality data to come in, and then they can then put a system in place to then work out. And I think as Karen would mention, understanding who the clients are, understanding the targets, understanding being able to segment all those different clients around to this is that type of person, they have these types of problems, we can help them in this type of way. Tell me about how difficult it's been to get data, because I know we've sort of talked about, we've flirted with this idea of it's open banking is supposed to have been here, but really it's not. But how difficult has it been to get quality data?
Yeah, open banking will happen eventually. At the moment, with the likes of Yodlee, which is obviously a third-party snapshot of transactions that can be pulled through into the portal, that gives a good indication of bank balances, credit cards, everything from property to cars to super to retail super funds to portfolios. So it gives a good snapshot of assets and liabilities, so that balance sheet. I think advisors are getting more confident in those discussions with their clients. At the end of the day, the easiest way that they explain it to their clients is they say, look, this is just like internet banking, but safer, because it's a snapshot of your transactions. And in the end, you'll just have one login into the app rather than 20 logins that you've got to log in to obtain all of that information. So they are getting more confident with their conversations around that.
Yeah, fantastic. And what about data from some of the other providers? How's that gone?
And which providers in particular?
Some of the so not just the banks, but the other fund under, like the funds managers and the super funds.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few ways that that we can bring portfolios into, for example, myprosperity, and that's one through we've got a two-way integration with Xplan. So if firms are using Xplan for IPS, we can pull that through into myprosperity. But likewise, we can actually pull through portfolios as well. There's two ways. There's one way is through the client side, and one way is actually through the practice portal. So we have had some direct integrations with some platforms such as Hub24, NetWealth, Premium, etc. So we can pull those in as well. So most of those portfolios are pretty happy. I think sometimes it takes a little bit longer with some of the bigger institutions, but at the end of the day, it's available through the client side or the practice portal.
Yeah, this is an interesting part coming in through the client side, because I guess if you can continue to prompt the client to keep adding more data or information or what they're doing or how they're spending and all those sorts of things, I guess the data gets better and better and better over time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, tell us about the different people that you work with, because obviously when we spoke to the four different people that we spoke to, they were all sort of in different areas. Some were doing advice, some were doing sort of coaching, some was doing the compliance. I guess compliance is a big part of what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, having data at your fingertips, right, is quite important. Like proper data, constantly updating means that you are more compliant, because you can extract that data and put it into your, if you're using, say, for example, an Xplan or a Midwinter, you can actually extract that information from our portal and add it in there. Same as, we've got a new feature called Rooms, which is quite interesting because, say, for example, if an advisor's sitting, say, with a client and it turns out that they need an up-to-date will, they can actually create this room, invite the client in, also the solicitor. It's like a historical chat room where they can add documents, they can sign off on documents, they can see the latest documents. So it kind of replaces email in a way, but it's really cool because then you can extract it as a zip file and then add it into your backend system. So I guess with myprosperity, when you think about us, and a great analogy that one of our partners gave us, they said, look, I'd never invite my client into the back office. I'd always invite them into the boardroom. So that's where we sort of see ourselves. We're sort of like the boardroom that the advisors like to deal with their clients, and in the background we've got the CRM back office solutions that deal with the compliance side.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And it's obviously not just for estate planning. I'm imagining if somebody's, working with other professionals, especially if they're in, say, let's say they're doing a self-managed super fund and they've got to deal with the auditor and they've got to deal with the accountant and all those sorts of people, you can sort of set up a room just for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any type of professionals. That's what we're trying to connect clients with.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. And okay. Well, certainly it's absolutely with the accountant. That makes sense as well. Tell me about that, the app itself, because a lot of people sort of talked about the app and they sort of talked about the white labeling of the app.
Yeah, that's right. So when a lot of advisors join up to myprosperity, they typically join up to a smaller package, and then over time, once they reach a certain amount of clients that they've onboarded, they're eligible to get their own custom branded app. We've got some advisors that want that straight away, so they want to join up to it, but we sort of encourage firms to join up slowly, get comfortable. There's an element of being set up properly, digitalizing the fact finds, making sure that the digital doc signing working, making sure that the integration with, say, Xplan or Hub24, whatever it is working properly. And then once they've got a clear process plan on onboarding clients, that's when we have a look at how many clients they're incorporating or introducing myprosperity to, and then at that point in time, they typically upgrade to their own branded app. And it kind of makes sense when you think about it. A lot of advisors, this is their portal. We're just the technology that's powering it. One thing to note with myprosperity is that we are in the business to help advisors help their clients. You cannot get My Prosperity just off the street like a pocketbook or anything like that. We're here purely to amplify the client journey and review process for advisors with their clients. And at the end of the day, who wouldn't want a cool app on their phone that consolidates all of their personal wealth? I mean, we've got apps like Spotify that consolidate our music, but where's the app that actually consolidates all of our assets, liabilities, cash flow goals? It's incredible. And I think when it's used properly, it's just magnificent.
Yeah, let's get into the bit of the psychology of this, because when people get that scenario of let's say they're in a position of, I kind of know where I'm up to as a consumer. I kind of know where I'm up to, but I'm not focusing on it every day, so I don't really know what my actual spending is or my actual. Tell me about that first part of the process when somebody comes in as a client and gets all of their information together in one place. Then they get a very clear snapshot of exactly where they are now. Have you sort of seen any scenarios where that actually is where that client actually goes, right, now I feel like I'm in a way better position, even though I haven't done anything, all I've done is just consolidate everything?
Yeah, so a lot of advisors, the way that they use My Prosperity with their clients is more to say, hey, this is peace of mind, so that you know that we've wired everything up in the one place for you, and not just assets, liabilities, cash flow, but also important documentation like wills and insurances that you hadn't thought about. So God forbid something that happens to you, at least us and your family have access to everything in one place. So it's more about giving clients peace of mind. They've got an app on their phone that they can check at any point in time, but it's not for them to, really sit in there every single day. It's more about the advice journey with the advisor and the advisor hand-holding them through that journey. At the end of the day, people need that visibility, especially if they're trying to achieve goals. How do you know if you're on track to achieving a goal if you only see your advisor once a year? And that comes back to scaling the business. It's what are some of the touch points that you have within your firm throughout the year with your clients. I know some people have the newsletters. In My Prosperity, for example, you've got the automated branded reports that you can automate for clients. So, showing them once a quarter their consolidated view of all of their assets and liabilities. And it even shows the little pictures, of their properties and cars. And people are visual, right? So it's just a nice little touch point. To-dos. I know that Nicole from King Financial mentioned that the things that she uses in My Prosperity, things like the doc signing. So they're pretty big on the digital doc signing. That's been quite popular in terms of clients being very easily being able to download obviously the app. So first step is to have the app on the phone. They can go in, sign a document very easily. They can upload documents. So what I've noticed too is some advisors are actually telling their clients that this is a secure portal that you can actually drag and drop documents in here, and we can securely put documents in here for you. The to-dos which she uses, so she also mentioned about some of the tasks. So say, for example, if you're still chasing off a client, say, some documentation, etc., you can actually send them a push notification and say, hey, I need these documents by this date, and it'll keep popping up until they've done it. The problem with email is sometimes we're too busy or it's late at night. I know I've missed a fair few emails where, it's late or you're about to, hop on a call or a meeting, and you sort of forget to get back to that email, whereas when something keeps flashing and popping up at you, you're more likely to complete that task. So I love how she's using that. What I've noticed, though, is that it's almost become like a dark horse, because obviously advisors, behind the scenes, they still spend a lot of time doing small tasks for their clients that they don't see. Like, say, for example, they might be on the phone to an institution, say, for half an hour or an hour, on behalf of that client, but the client doesn't really know that. So what I've noticed is that some advisors are using that to-dos for themselves, because you can actually allocate it to yourself, which is pretty cool, because then at review time, they can bring it up and say, hey, these are, all the to-dos, and I think that's really cool. Obviously, then they use the cash flow as well. So it's really important, regardless whether you're a young accumulator or a pre-retiree. If you're wanting to retire in 10 years' time, you really need to know where your money's going. So having, like a pie chart to actually show you, where the majority of your spend is, it can really tend to curb your habits. I mean, when I joined My Prosperity, my partner and I had an investment property it was our principal property in St Kilda East. I don't know if you know Melbourne quite well, but it's about 5 k's from the city, so not too far. And that was our first property. And it was quite interesting because when I got the app, I actually thought to myself, wow, I didn't realize we're spending over $1,000 on restaurants and dining. Like, we've really got to curb this. It's kind of like, you don't realize $100 here, $100 there, it all adds up. And it does. And I've always been great at saving, but I thought we could do so much better. And so through the app, what we ended up doing was we started to pay off double off our mortgage, because we thought, hang on a second, if we save in these areas that are problematic, we can actually start paying off our mortgage. And we did. And all our friends were in shock that we had 5 years left on our mortgage when they all had 25 years on their mortgage. So little things like that, that can really, like, having that visibility can really change your mindset. And obviously you deal with a lot of money coaches as well. So the power of having that data and being visible and helping achieve your goals is quite powerful.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And it's a perfect story around the power of actually focusing on something, the power of having that data in your hand to be able to see it and go, okay, so this is what that means. Having sort of valuable call outs and to be able to see if you are on track or not on track actually just provides you your own level of motivation to get up and do that, doesn't it? It's not about getting the advisor to do it. It's about the client actually self-motivating themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where a lot of advisors have that power. And when you think about why an advisor went into their role in the first place, it wasn't to, try and figure out how they can make X plan more efficient. It is actually about how they can make a better experience for their clients and help them reach their goals. And I love that that's what Andy was explaining as well. That's exactly what he said. He said, sometimes there's too much focus on the back end and not enough on the client facing. And that's sometimes where we've got to pinch ourselves and go, no, hang on a second. This is what we've got to focus on.
Yeah, what I love about Andy, his drive is about helping. I mean, most advisors I speak to, their drive is for helping clients. But Andy's at the point where he's like, I'm helping this client. It's the right thing to do, right?
Yes.
And the rest of the stuff follows along with that. He doesn't sort of start with, let's start with all of the technical stuff. He starts with helping, and I think he helps everybody. It's not just with his one-to-many approach around the communications. I think he's doing a great job of communicating to his tribe of people. Now, I wanted to talk about the setup and training, because we mentioned that a few times. You've sort of talked about people that are using the system in a smart way, where they've taken the trouble to set up their to-dos and their automated reports, et cetera, et cetera. That's a big part of any technology, isn't it? When you take on a piece of technology, that obviously the ability of the technology is one thing, but if you're not using it properly.
100%. I couldn't agree with that more. And technology can't replace the human element either. Instead, it will complement it. So that synergy between advisor and technology. But it needs to be, like Karen mentioned, you can't sometimes focus on all three areas, systems, processes, and technology. Sometimes you got to highlight one of them and go all in, because it's really the initial setup. A good example is a firm here in Melbourne, Louise Parker from Financial Lifestyle Managers. She was great. As soon as she joined up to My Prosperity, she had a clear plan that at review time, she was going to onboard all of her clients onto My Prosperity. And it only took her 12 months and she got a branded app. And you know what? She's a one-man band. She's got she doesn't have 12 CSMs working underneath her. And I thought that was fantastic, because it just showed that if you've got the right conversations and the trust with your clients, it will make the positioning of the technology a lot easier. Because if you're not using it, or you think your clients won't like it, it's like if I went to my accountant and he said, "Oh, do you want this app?" I'd be like, "Not really." Whereas if you say to them, "Hey, hang on a second, part of our process is to this is going to make our review process so much easier moving forward, because I'm going to give you access to all of your data that's going to be in one place. So at review time moving forward, we'll be able to go through all of this. So it's more about the positioning of the technology to make sure, and I think advisors are getting better. I do. I know that a lot of, and in particular, the stats that we have with our current clients at myprosperity, the usage in particular, we went through the usage stats on Monday, and it actually showed us that we've actually had a spike in usage. So it's actually been growing. So each month, we've looked at the usage stats and they're growing, and we actually had a spike in June, which is quite interesting. But then again, a lot of advisors, this is quite a busy time for them because obviously end of financial year. But it's quite interesting because the advisors that we do have are using myprosperity quite well. So I do think it's getting better. But yeah, it's like with anything.
Are you able to share a bit more about those stats? Is there like a amount of time that clients spend on the app?
So in terms of, we typically try and look at more of the advisor stats, the advisor usage. The feedback we get from a lot of our advisors is they say, look, we don't mind if the client logs in, once a month or once a quarter. This app is really about them having that peace of mind that they've got everything wired up in one place, right? And it's going to make the review process so much more seamless, because in the end, it's better for us because it's more efficient, because it means that we've got all the information at our fingertips. We don't have to constantly chase them. So it really depends. I mean, every client's different. If you look at a client base, you'll have clients like, for example, yourself, you might be really tech savvy and love it and really be keen into looking into the app and all of, your updates, etc. But essentially what we find is it's more beneficial in terms of the advisor being able to have all of that information and being able to then help their clients and show their clients very easily, and that historical view as well. So over time, they'll be able to say, your net wealth's grown by X%, and it's quite powerful from that standpoint.
Yeah. So you mentioned the word mindset earlier. So there's obviously a big learning curve for an advisor taking on any new technology, and around working out how they're going to position it, how they're going to use it in their business, how they're going to talk to their clients about it, all those sorts of things. What are you seeing out there with advisors that are embracing technology in their process?
Flourishing. I think those that have really embedded technology into their process. It takes time. It's not going to happen straight away. You have to be patient. But firms like, for example, Conrad, that have been with us for 5 years, like he said, and I really loved this quote, but he said, technology will either make you money or save you money. And I loved when he said that, because he's actually getting both out of the technology now. So I think that the initial investment of technology and spending the time to make sure that it's set up properly, it will definitely allow for future growth and that scalability.
Yep. And you're right, he's got the right mindset. Tell me about the mindset around some planners when they're thinking about taking on technology. It might be scary for them because they might be thinking in their mind that their clients have to adapt or change or do something, and it's going to be a big change process. But a lot of clients are already embracing technology in many ways, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. It was so funny. I mean, obviously, us being in Melbourne, so myprosperity's HQ is in Melbourne, and we spent a big chunk of last year obviously in lockdown, and it was quite interesting because I had firms that were sort of hesitant to obviously start the process with myprosperity actually come back to me during lockdown and say, hey, my clients are asking me for Zoom links. This is unreal. We need to get an app. They're asking us if we've got an app that they can log into. And it was just interesting how COVID really accelerated the adoption of technology.
Yes, certainly did, and you're absolutely right. And I don't think that's going to change. That's the new normal. Everyone's talked about the idea of getting back to normal. I think we're moving forward to the new normal when it comes to embracing technology. And of course, that also meant that a lot of businesses could have could grow their businesses in areas that weren't geographically close to them.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of firms out there that have clients that are in regional areas or interstate. So I think sometimes you can actually be more efficient if you have 5 Zoom meetings in one day rather than, trying to have 3 by traveling. So absolutely, I think even the hybrid model of working from home, most companies have had to adopt that because it's just the new normal. You shouldn't be expected to be in the office all the time. I think that's long dead now. And technology has been a big driver of that. So,
and I think what we can see from the last 12 months plus is obviously the adoption of technology can be quite rapid, but it also sort of takes a bit of time to get through to all of your clients. You mentioned before the concept around, over a 12-month period, Louise managed to bring the myprosperity into all of her clients. Talk to me about that time you would expect if an advisor wanted to implement a new system or a new technology in their process. We mentioned the concept of going back and setting it all up properly and understanding exactly in the training that's involved with understanding exactly how it's working, how you're going to get the most out of it, and then that 12-month implementation process.
Yeah, so I guess there's 2 factors involved. Some of the firms that are starting out that don't have existing clients, they're the ones that will do quite well because it's just part of their fixed fee process, so they can implement that structure very clearly at the beginning. And then obviously with clients like Louise who were I guess onboarding existing clients, and mind you, all her clients are pre-retirees, but the positioning of it at review time and onboarding them, and it's very quick and easy to onboard someone onto myprosperity. It's just a matter of adding their assets and liabilities, and over time you can add more if you like into it because it's quite a feature-rich platform. It's all came back to how she made her clients feel. And I think the relationship, and I think that's where it comes back to the deeper client relationships, because she has quite very deep relationships with her clients. They've got that element of trust. One of my very favorite poets, Maya Angelou, one of my favorite poems is, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And I think that's quite important in any aspect of your life, whether you're a financial advisor or a good friend or a nurse. At the end of the day, it's how you make someone feel. So that genuine curiosity, asking substantial questions, how you make a person feel. One of my good friends, and you probably know her quite well, Fraser, Kim Payne. She obviously presents, she presents at a lot of IFA events, and she's a mentor to a lot of different firms, and you'll have to listen to it, but she has presented on snorkeling versus scuba diving, and the whole concept is about those advisors that have that genuine curiosity, asking substantial questions, really dive deeper into what their clients are trying to achieve. And then I think if you can nail that, the rest will fall into place.
Yeah, absolutely. And that sort of also comes back down, if we're using technology in that space, using the data in a smarter way to be able to then discover the things that we really need to ask deeper questions on. And as you said before, go deep diving into a curious realm of, what is that thing that's happened over there, and what is that one thing that we can help that person with, and really getting to know those clients almost in a way, or know their personal their financial world almost better than they know it.
Mm-hmm.
Now talk to me about the idea, because as we go down this general curiosity around understanding their data and feelings, one of the biggest things that comes out of any software is this personalized, timely and relevant information for call-outs. How does the technology partner provide these sorts of things? How do they work out if it's personalized, timely and relevant?
Sure. Well, in my experience with myprosperity, because it's a branded portal, for example, it's the client's brand that's going out. So like I mentioned earlier about the automated reports, having a nice little touch point going out once a quarter. I've had feedback from advisors saying that they've actually stopped sending newsletters to clients, and not all, obviously some still do. I think it's still quite important. But I've noticed some have stopped because they said, especially some of the advisors that are very time poor, they've just said, you know what, this is great because they don't really read my generic newsletters. However, when they get an automated report about them, of course, they're going to click in and read it because it's all about the client. So they've loved that time saving there because it's a nice little touch point once a quarter that their clients are getting. And it's scalable. At the end of the day, it just, ticks over in the portal. And I think that's quite, I guess, a unique proposition to clients saying, hey, I don't have to do this for you, but I think it's just a nice little gesture of showing you where you're at the moment.
Yeah, to me, it's almost, obviously, to me, I sort of call them sort of a progress type approach of understanding where you're up to now. Creates a great little bit of motivation, whether it's negative or positive motivation for the client to sort of remind them about what they're focused, keep them focused on what they wanted to achieve, and give them a little reminder of where they're up to, so that they can. And remember, the interesting part about this is, if the news is good, it's good. If the news is bad, it's still good. It's still motivational, right? Because it's from the client point of view. So when advisors want to set up myprosperity, talk to me about the process. Is it long? Is it how long does it take?
It's really easy. So on our website, we've got a sign up button. So all they do, it's all online. There's no contracts that they got to fill out. They just click on sign up. It depends what package they need. So usually what I do is I help them through that process. It's more about understanding their practice to then suggesting the right package for them. And so once they've chosen that package, they sign up. The sign-up process is really simple. They just put in their, business name, email address, and make sure that they have a copy of their logo. Once they've paid for it, they'll have instantaneous access into their practice portal where they can start setting up some initial, display names and start having a little bit of a play around. Then our onboarding team or our account management team will send through like a welcome pack email, and they'll also give them a call, make sure that they set in a onboarding time with them. So usually that's a few days later. And what that entails is to actually go through it, make sure that they understand, the configuration process such as Xplan, send through their mini fact finds and and once we start to fully configure their practice portal, that's when they can start slowly introducing the end user accounts to their client base. So it doesn't take long at all. It's really about how quickly the advisor wants to go. Sometimes we've got advisors that are quite eager and want to get things done quite quickly. So it happens within a few days. And then we've got others that are happy for it to happen, over, say, 2 weeks. But initially, it's not that long to get someone set up. It's really quick and easy. We've got a great team. We've got an onboarding account management team, plus separately, we've got a tech support team. So say, for example, if an advisor's having issues connecting like a data feed into the portal, we've got a great tech support team that can help quite quickly. So we've got a really good support mechanism around.
Fantastic. And you mentioned the word integration there before too. Tell me about your integrations.
Yes, that is the key word, isn't it? Integrations. So we've done an Xplan integration. So we've got a two-way balance sheet integration with Xplan. We can also pull across the insurance data across. We've also got a very new, hot off the press midwinter integration. We're currently working through a Salesforce integration. I believe we're in talks with Advisor Logic and perhaps Work Sorted, but everything is based on demand. So the more advisors we have using those back-end systems, the more quickly we'll integrate with them. So that's why, hence, a lot of our advisors, majority of our advisors use Xplan, hence why that was the first integration there.
Fantastic. And you mentioned security, having a secure portal a couple of times. This is obviously a massive thing for financial planners. Tell us about what you're doing in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. So It's not cheap. We spend about $500,000 on security every year, so it's not cheap. We use Amazon Web Services data center, which is up in Sydney. And we have our ISO certification. So for anyone that doesn't understand that, it means that we've got our highest global, so not the highest standards only in Australia, but also globally, because we did do a soft launch globally. So that's quite important. So we take security very seriously. In the 10 years that we've been around, we've never had any issues around security. And obviously we've continually paying at Amazon Web Services. We've got, penetration testers that try and hack into our servers. And we're very comfortable. We've got not only our head of tech, Stephen Jackal, but we've also got very new, probably we hired him about 2-3 months ago, head of product now as well. So we're really excited because we're right on that cusp where we're about to elevate the portal's capabilities. So watch this space.
Yeah, fantastic. It's good. That's good to hear. The ISO certification is absolutely, a great thing to have for the peace of mind of planners, understanding that when you are, bringing people's clients' data in, it needs to be safe and secure. Well, KK, thank you so much for coming on and chatting to us today. I really appreciate you coming on and summing up some of the great stuff we heard in this Deeper Client Relationships at Scale series. And thank you for representing My Prosperity in this series. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we leave?
No, that's all. Thank you so much for having me on this show. And I can't wait to hear all the podcasts again.
Fantastic. And if somebody wants to reach out and get hold of you, what's the best way?
Absolutely. You can just get onto our website. If you click in book a demo, I'll be able to give you a call and have a bit of a chat with you.
Wonderful. Thank you, KK. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.